Batman Year One is without a doubt the definitive Batman origin story. Before it came out in 1987, the most people had ever seen of Batman's origins was from small snippets in stories, or brief mentions of it, never an entire book devoted to it. This was the first to fully answer the questions that people had built up about Batman's origins for years. The book follows both Bruce Wayne and a young Lieutenant Gordon, who are both trying to clean up Gotham, but are unsure of how they can do it, and shows how they change for the course of a year. This story has served as inspiration for several other Batman works, the most notable of which is the elements of it used in Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins. Rather than focusing solely on Batman, Year One actually spends an equal amount of time with Gordon. Author Frank Miller does an excellent job at making Gordon an interesting and competent character, rather than a lazy cop who has to have Batman do everything for him. The parallels between Batman and Gordon also offer great contrast to each other. Batman, however, is a lot more inexperienced than Gordon, and it's fun to see him learning things on the job that will later come to define who he is. Believe it or not, it's actually entertaining to see Batman just completely screw things up, and watching how he has to deal with them. Another thing this story does well is explain why he dresses up as a bat. I'm not ready. I have the means, the skill, but not the method. No, that's not true. I have hundreds of methods, but something's missing. Something isn't right. Because as Bruce does realize in this, he can't just go around fighting people with martial arts as Bruce Wayne. And no one would be afraid of him. Fear. I have to make them afraid. The internal dialogue in this is also brilliant. It helps show the conflict that the characters are going through, and gives the reader the feeling that they really know the characters by the end of the book. The artwork in this is just fantastic. Artist David Mazzucchelli does a brilliant job of making the comic feel gritty and real without it being confusing, like in The Dark Knight Returns. This makes every panel a treat to look at. Unlike most Batman books, this has no villain. Rather, it focuses on regular criminals and a corrupt police force that Gordon finds himself in. The lack of any of Batman's rogue gallery members or someone trying to take over the world allows the story to feel unique and different from anything else. It also makes the story feel more grounded in reality and allows more time with Batman and Gordon. The worst part of this book by far is Catwoman. Not even how the book explains her origins, but because the book spends so little time with her, and she doesn't actually affect the story in any way whatsoever, and just comes off as a useless addition. You could completely remove every scene with her, and the story would stay the same. If anything, it would actually be better, because she draws focus away from the two main characters. Another thing people could take fault with is when the story switches from focusing on Gordon to Batman, or vice versa. However, I would say these add to the story because they are executed so well and allow for great parallels between the two characters. Another storytelling element that the readers may find confusing is the jumping ahead. Usually a month, these make it possible for the story to take place over the course of a year. I did not actually have any problem with these jumps, but to other readers it could feel confusing or abrupt. If you don't know much about Batman or the DC Universe, this book is an excellent place to start. You don't need to have read any other comics to enjoy this one at all. It was made for people to get introduced to Batman. So if you're thinking of getting into Batman comics, then this is one you will not want to miss out on. I would give this book a 9 out of 10. Almost every element in this book works perfectly, and is one of the best Batman books ever written. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my review of The Dark Knight Returns, and my next video coming out soon.